Hello and welcome to Caraboonas at Home. So here we are again, and we're sort of thinking about National Pizza Day at the moment. So obviously we know National Pizza Day is coming up, and we all love pizza in one form or another. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to show you how to make a very basic pizza dough. So in my bowl I've got 500 grams of this strong bread flour. It's really important that you use a strong bread flour. So self-raising flour won't do the job, and nor will plain flour. Then into that, I'm going to put some yeast. This is pre-measured, but there's about 7 grams of dried yeast. There will be a recipe to follow this short presentation. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. I'm going to put some olive oil in this. It's not bread, it's a pizza dough, so I want that sort of richness of the olive oil. So I'm going to give that a little mix. Okay. Just to blend the ingredients, and then I'm going to put some warm water in there. So I've totally forgotten to get my warm water ready, and that's fine to take out of the tap. But it only needs to be about 37 degrees. If it's too hot, you'll kill the yeast. Probably about 150 mils to start off with. Again, as we've talked about in previous videos, depends on the type of flour, the quality of the flour. So I'm just going to bring all this together, and that should make a sort of nice smooth dough. I like to use a spatula. I don't very often use my hands when I'm mixing the dough together, because it all sort of gets everywhere and sticks to my hands. Drives me mad. Yep, so when I've got all that flour incorporated, and my bowl should be coming clean. Yeah. It's a quick recipe, there's nothing fancy about this recipe. I can take it out of my bowl, put my bowl to one side, and then I can do this kneading like this. So I'm pushing the dough forward and flicking it with my hands like this. And I need to do that for a couple of minutes, and by doing that I'm conditioning my dough, and I'm stretching what they call the gluten in the flour. And I'll do that for probably about 4 or 5 minutes, and don't have to be fancy. It's really racking it through, and really sort of doing some work on that. You can see how much work I was doing on that, but it meant the board was moving. Back in my bowl, covered with a cloth or some plastic, popped to one side and left for about an hour. So now we're going to wait an hour. Not really, because here's some I got ready earlier. So what's happened now, it started to sort of puff up and there's air in there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take that air back out, because if not, it won't be strong, my dough won't be strong. You'll have a weak structure. And there we go. That's some pizza dough ready to make our bases. I'm just going to pop that to one side just for a minute, while we talk about what's here. So here are some things I like. I've got a little bit of Parmesan and a bit of English cheddar. I've got some Rick mozzarella. Got some pepperoni. I've got some chili chicken that I did earlier. So I've just sort of ripped that. I've got some peppers. There's loads. I could have mushrooms on there. I could have a vegan version. It's unlimited what you can put on your pizza. It's what you like. So I'm just going to show you a really sort of quick cheat topping. So if I get some tomato ketchup, like that, and I get some tomato paste, like that. So there's no cooking, there's no sweating onions or doing garlic or anything. That's all in the ketchup, all that bit. And if I do an equal amount of tomato paste, so for every spoonful of ketchup I've got a spoonful of tomato paste. A bit of this dried herbs. If I had some sort of pureed garlic, I could put some pureed garlic in there if I wanted a stronger garlic. Mix those together, and you've got a really good, quick, easy to do pizza topping. If I wanted to, I could put some different flavours in there, some chilies and things like that. But that's a really good pizza topping. It's about the right consistency. It won't slip off, won't be too wet. So back to my dough now. And this is what your dough should feel like. It should be smooth and it should be stretchy. I'm not going to be tossing this around or anything today, because might make my kitchen a bit messy. And but what I am going to do, I'm going to take a rolling pin and I'm just going to pin it out to what I like. So this depends on the depth. So I'm just going to get from a rolling pin, I'm going to turn that to keep it nice and round. So some of you might be a bit of a depth and you might be able to spin it round on your hand, but never quite mastered that technique yet. So the good old rolling pin is good enough for me. And forget pizzas that are a perfect round shape, because that just means they've been brought from the shop. Yeah. What we want is a nice sort of stretched dough that's going to sort of, you know, fill our tin. And it doesn't really matter if it's not perfectly round. It could be square if you want, or you can make little mini pizzas if you wanted to. So I'm just going to make up a little one here. If I wanted to, I could put my filling in there and I could fold it over like this and do a calzone. But I'm just going to keep this as a standard sort of open pizza for this demonstration of the National Pizza Day. I think they should make it law that you have to eat pizza at least once a week. Lots of things you could do now, you know, you could be stuffing the crust and folding it over as unlimited. I like to cook on these because they've got the holes, but if you haven't got one of these you don't need to worry. You can use a tray, or what I sometimes use is a cake tin if I want to do a deep pan one, if I want to do a much deeper base. So there we go, there's my base. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to do something that us chefs call docking. Yeah, you might do that if you do pastry as well. The reason for that is that it stops it puffing up in the middle. It makes those little vents, those air vent things. There we go. And then I'm going to take some of my delicious topping that I made earlier, like that. And I'm just going to spread it out. So if you look at that there, you can see what a perfect topping that makes. Yeah, you can buy all these fancy ones in the shops, or you can try and make it, and you can open the tomatoes and sweat it all off and everything, but you know, you won't get a better topping than that. It's lovely, it's sweet, it's pizza-y, it's got some really good flavours in there, but the good thing about it is it sticks to the dough and it doesn't make the dough wet underneath, because if you're making your own and you don't get it right, the dough's wet underneath. So now's one of the little rules of pizza making, and what people often get wrong. The cheese must go on first. If you don't put the cheese on first, what happens is that the cheese sits on top of the ingredients and it all gets hot and steamy underneath, and then you end up with a soggy base and soggy ingredients. So it's really important that you put the cheese on first. And I've just got this beautiful mozzarella here that I'm just going to rip and just put it on there. And I've just put a bit of cheddar that I had in the fridge from something earlier. So, you know, I'm just sort of like putting these beautiful flavours on there. Okay, so then you just decide what you want to do with your pizza then, really. So this one's I'm going to have for my tea, because my son's going to do the pepperoni one later, so I don't touch the pepperoni. So I'm just going to use some of this chili chicken that I did earlier, and then when it's finished I'm just going to sprinkle it with a bit of chili sauce. So I can put all that on there. You know, we're not at a pizza restaurant now where it's sort of fine the piece of chicken on the thing. You can afford to put plenty of ingredients on there. Some peppers. But remember the rule, cheese first. Now we have a pizza. Now I like this stuff as well. This is Parmesan. It gives it a real good strong flavour. So I'm just going to take some of that and put it on. And I'll probably put a bit on when it's finished as well. So there we go. Try and find room to work. I'll nick a bit of this pepperoni as well. So, you know, there's my little pizza creation. What I like to do, you know, when we're doing this on Pizza Day, and we're doing it on National Pizza Day, what I shall do, I shall make the bases, and then my family will come along and they'll make up their own pizza, put all their bits on, and we'll bake them in the oven. So all I need to do now is to put this in my oven, which I've preheated, and in about 25 minutes I'll hopefully have a delicious pizza. I'll share the picture of it with you, but that's sort of one way. So the other way, just quickly, because I've got a few minutes left, if you don't want to make the base, here's a couple of alternatives for you. or if you're on a bit of a health purge. So, a wrap, standard, normal, average wrap. Take some topping, spread it on the wrap, just like that. And this gives you an ultra thin, you know when you go into the pizza restaurants and they say you're getting this ultra healthy thin one, that's just something you can do. The other option is French bread. A little French bread pizza. I'm making these for lunch tomorrow, so obviously with the children at home, you know, it's really difficult to think of different things for lunches. So, there we go. Remember the rule, cheese first. Just like that. A little bit of pepperoni. French bread pizza. All done for tomorrow. There you go, pop that in the fridge. So we've got some alternatives there. We've got our traditional pizza, we've got French bread pizzas, and then we've got the lazy healthy pizza, which is just a wrap, and that turns out very well. So there's just some ideas for National Pizza Day. So happy pizza making,